Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Dr. Holly Lopez. I am the host for this session, Unlocking Opportunities, Supporting Educational Journeys Through Acknowledgement, Equity, and Transfer, presented by the members of University of Arizona Global Campus Office of the Registrar. We'll have Johnny Byrd and Travis Peterson, who are senior admissions and matriculation coordinators. Kenton Uyeda is an admissions and matriculation manager, and JoAnna Nieman is a senior articulation and prior learning specialist. All have more than 10 years of experience as higher education professionals. They are dedicated to recognizing the previous education and work-life experiences of students enrolled here at UAGC and enrolling here at UAGC. And I can attest that they are excellent professionals. I'll go ahead and hand it over to you, Travis.
I'll go ahead and get started. My name is Johnny. And why do we even talk about transfer credits? Because of the educational journey of our students. We in higher education want to see others strive and thrive to attain a degree which has the potential to impact lives for the better. And transfer credits play an important role in that. We're going to stress specifically the undergraduate journey today because students take classes at multiple institutions for varied reasons. Maybe they move to a different geographic area and that necessitates a transfer. Maybe it's for a job or caregiving responsibilities, military obligations, so many reasons it could be. Thus, we have that transfer enrollments represent 13% of all continuing and undergraduate students. Just over 50% of all returning students are transfers this year. Fully 1/3 of all transfer students identify as a non-white ethnicity. At the same time, the undergraduate completion rate for those same students lags those of their white and Asian counterparts. And how to fix that is beyond the scope of our subject today. But we can think about our small part by examining the subject of transfer credits, how students can get the most bang for the buck, if you will. Now, how do we define this concept of a college student? Who is a traditional college student? A young person fresh out of high school going straight into college with maybe a planned gap year, with the unfettered freedoms of the students from Animal House, that 1970s John Belushi movie. That's what students are. That's the student society usually thinks of when picturing a college student, but now with the smartphone in tow. But things are not as they seem on the surface. Demographics have changed, and demographics are the future of a nation as well as higher education. For that ubiquitous traditional college-age student, declining birth rates in America and much of the world yield far fewer potential students for our classrooms, about a 15% decline in the number of traditional age students. Now, there's more that goes into that, but not less, because we could talk about the evolving view of the value proposition of attaining a degree as well. With the fact of a decline in traditional college-age students, what are colleges to do? Well, they're going to give up and fold? Well, of course not, because there are other people going to school as well that are not traditional. Estimates suggest that 40% of undergraduate students are considered non-traditional. And the characteristics used to define the non-traditional student, as used by the National Center for Education Statistics, those include delayed enrollment in post-secondary education, current part-time or full-time enrollment, financial independence of parents or caregivers, and responsible for dependents other than a spouse. But there's this other characteristic that is used to define the group as a catch-all, and it's 25 years of age or older. And these non-traditional students, what do they need from us? And what are their obstacles? Well, they need flexibility in how to accomplish this goal. They have many different motivations with hurdles to jump through as well. Reasons they're going through the trouble of taking on that much responsibility despite everything else that is going on. As an aside, we must honor that as our students choose to pursue education and have chosen our specific schools to do it. It goes without saying that these students have a goal in mind. They have something to accomplish, and we are here to help them along in the process. Those motivations include leveling up skills for a current role, promotional opportunities to make more money, personal growth, networking. There's a reason why they're doing this. It's not just for nothing. Recall what we said earlier about that over 25 tidbit. It's shorthand for saying the non-traditional student in many ways. And UAGC has a high non-traditional student population, as 87% of our students are over the age of 25. Further, over half of our students identify as non-white. Approximately 2/3 of our students are female. That's quite a bit higher than the general trends in higher education regarding male to female enrollment ratios. And look at this. A quarter of our students are military affiliated. And military students are, by their very nature, non-traditional. We've also found that our bachelor's military students tend to have a greater proportion of transfer students, and they transfer more credits than their non-military counterparts. And the average age of a military learner is 32 years of age. Now, let's define that military affiliated term, since the way that we here at UAGC uses it could be a little differently than in other cases. The standard definition for military affiliated includes those on active duty, reserves, National Guard, and veterans. UAGC includes those same groups and adds spouses and dependents when using VA educational benefits, VA and DoD employees as well. So military students, they have many unique challenges with their work and travel, deployment, and the training tempo, etc. Lots of challenges. That flexibility that we just mentioned a bit earlier, it's very important to our military students, our population. And the reasons they go to school are as varied as they are. A couple of reasons include advancement, to seek more responsibility and pay, and to take advantage of those reimbursements for higher education attendance that the military provides.
As we can see, students are unique. They have varied backgrounds, challenges, goals, educational journeys, life experiences. One of the areas we can look at to support these students is through their transfer credits and the acknowledgement of their education and life experiences. As we discussed transfer credits, we'll look at it from three perspectives: stranded credits, lost credits, and credits for prior learning. Stranded credits are considered the academic credits earned at an institution that a student cannot access because of a transcript hold, typically for an unpaid balance with the previous attended institution. In 2020, an estimated 6.6 million students had stranded credits. Withholding a transcript is common practice for policy as a way to collect those outstanding balances. In 2020, ACRO found that 76% of institutions withheld transcripts for outstanding balances of less than $100. Guidance from the United States Department of Education has changed over time regarding the withholding of transcripts due to unpaid balances. However, as of July 1st, institutions can no longer withhold transcripts for federal Title IV funded courses or credits. However, there still may be instances of withheld transcripts for courses or credits paid for by other funding sources such as private loans or state loans. These can vary depending on state laws. While financial is one of the more common reasons transcripts are withheld, institutions stated other reasons such as missing financial aid or graduation exit interviews, code of conduct, academic dismissal, unreturned library books, equipment, departmental holds, or missing documentation as reasons for withholding transcripts. A majority of institutions provide their transcript hold policies on their websites, in catalogs, and in handbooks. They notify students of a hold when an official transcript is requested, but also through other methods such as student portal messages or email. However, 11% of institutions surveyed only notify students of a hold when an official transcript is requested. Holds can affect students that may need transcripts for other reasons, such as employment, confirmation of degree completion, or application to graduate school. While the survey data is limited, it suggests that low income and underserved minority populations make up the largest portion of students with these stranded credits. So how do we improve the mobility of transcripts to future institutions? Here are some things to maybe consider. We need to look at our institutional policies for reasons transcripts are being held. Is there an outside accreditation or Department of Education reason for the policy? Can the policy be changed to improve student outcomes and still achieve the institutional's desired result? Other things to consider are how we tell students about our holds. Does your institution provide a notification of the hold before an official transcript is requested? Do you try to notify the students in multiple ways? Does that notification offer a clear reason for the hold? And are there clear directions on how to clear it? There may be ideas to even clear transcript holds. Should a transcript hold have an expiration date? Can a different type of hold, such as a registration hold, achieve the same goal? Could students be offered debt forgiveness or payment plans? Another area to consider are lost credits. These are academic credits earned at a previous institution, and the credits are evaluated as not transferable or applicable at the receiving institution. A couple of definitions to consider when we look at this area include transferable. This means the credits meet the minimum transfer requirements of the receiving institution. But applicable means that the credits are actually applied towards the degree completion at that receiving institution. A cohort of students studied by the United States Government Accountability Office estimated that 35% of first-time students transfer at least once. The students lost an estimated 43% when they were transferring. This percentage of credit loss varied by their transfer direction, with students who were transferring from private for-profit schools to public schools showing the greatest credit loss. Now, financial aid implications for transfer students varied based on multiple factors, including the transfer directions, tuition cost at the institutions they attended, and the amount of total credits lost. While it's important that students who lose credits and must retake them may exceed their timeframes for their financial aid eligibility. And in general, it is the student's responsibility for requesting those official transcripts be sent to other institutions, and not all institutions require that all previous transcripts be submitted. So during this, students may face challenges due to policy at the receiving institutions when transferring credits. There tends to be a preference for accepting credits from regionally accredited institutions over those of nationally accredited institutions. National accreditations most often are viewed as less stringent than regional, even though the United States Department of Education recognizes and applies the same standards to both accreditors. Additionally, two-year colleges are often seen as less academically rigorous. Access to the transfer information was another challenge for students. While institutions in general are good about providing their general transfer information on their websites or in catalogs, the survey cited specific institution-to-institution information, such as articulation agreements or even statewide transfer policies being harder to find. Additionally, half of the institutions were under-resourced to provide quality transfer advising, whether it's at the student's current school or as a prospective school. Transfer advising is most commonly available to students at the two-year community colleges, while looking to transfer to a four-year public university. In 2020, 1,000 college students were surveyed about their knowledge of their transfer credits. Of those who reported that some or none of their credits transferred, only 57% knew why. Some of the reasons included no course equivalency at the receiving institution, dual enrollment courses were not accepted or did not apply to their major. Students felt misadvised, they self-advised, or their degree requirements were hard to understand. Students took too many personal interest or major exploration courses, or their grades were not eligible for transfer. As we have explored the lost credits data, we need to take into consideration that data does not account for credits not received by institutions to review due to such things as the transcript holds, students not requesting all of their transcripts, and the receiving institutions not requiring all of those previous transcripts be accounted for during the transfer credit review. Additionally, many of our data sources, such as IPEDS, typically focus on the first-time degree-seeking undergraduate student and not transfer students. The age of students was not a demographic reported in these cohorts, and the U.S. Department of Education releases updates for 2 of their main studies every 8 years. Without taking these things into consideration when tracking data, understanding the current state of transfer credit success can be problematic. So how do we reduce the number of lost credits for our students? One way is to look again at our institutional transfer policies and understand if they're still meeting the needs of the university and of the students. Are our policies part of an outside accreditation or Department of Education reason? Do things like the age of the transfer credit matter? Does the topic of a transfer course need to be taught at the receiving institution? Do electives need to be restricted to specific major topics? Does your institution account for all of the previously completed academic credits? Or does your institution participate in a program such as a reverse transfer program?
UAGC regularly reviews transfer credit policy for alignment with our accreditation, Department of Education requirements. We strive to maintain strong university policy while meeting the needs of our unique student base. Beyond compliance with regulations, UAGC's Registrar Department makes additional efforts to mitigate the loss of credits for transfer students, maximize the awareness of credit transferability, and make the transfer credit as easy as possible for our students. UAGC offers an unofficial pre-evaluation of transfer credit upon request of the student using unofficial transcripts that the student provides. While the provided total of credits is not a guarantee, it is intended to assist students in determining how many transfer credits are likely to apply to a UAGC degree prior to submission and evaluation of the official transcripts. The Transcript Administration Department will request official transcripts of all prior post-secondary education. Institutions provided by the student in the application for admission and/or any school appearing in the student's National Student Clearinghouse record are requested. This includes transcripts from an approved accredited post-secondary educational institution attended, as well as joint services transcripts. In some cases, institutions do not allow third-party requesting. For these institutions where we're not able to request, and others such as national testing programs, we notify students that they must request the transcripts, and if possible, we provide information on how to request those specific transcripts. Once transcripts of all prior post-secondary education have been received, the Admissions and Matriculations Department within the Office of the Registrar will complete the student's official transfer credit evaluation. By university policy, the evaluation is completed prior to the end of the student's second course. If for any reason official transcripts are not received in time for the official evaluation, additional transcripts may be submitted for evaluation at any point before the student's graduation. UAGC reviews college-level credits and degrees from approved accredited institutions. Approved accreditors are those approved by the United States Department of Education. In general, Associate of Arts and Associate of Science degrees meet general education requirements. We will review all types of associates from approved accredited institutions to determine if they meet general education requirements. Additionally, we accept the Arizona General Education Curriculum Certificate as fulfilling the general education requirements. The applicability of transfer credits to electives is open to all college-level credit, regardless of the topic. We accept up to 9 semester credits of D grades, regardless of transfer GPA. These D grades may be applicable toward electives as well as some general education requirements, and students are not placed on academic watch based on transfer GPA. The Office of the Registrar uses a variety of tools to be consistent and equitable in the evaluation of transfer credit. The majority of transfer credit evaluation is completed by the Admissions and Matriculation Department with support of the Articulation and Prior Learning Assessment Department. These departments also work closely with deans and faculty. We utilize the transfer evaluation system tests from CollegeSource to maintain a database of transfer equivalencies. Utilizing this system gives us access to more than 190,000 catalogs from more than 7,700 institutions. We also maintain transfer credit rubrics for all transferable UAGC undergraduate courses. These rubrics help with the consistent evaluation of potential transfer credit to UAGC course descriptions and learning outcomes. UAGC maintains articulation agreements with several two-year colleges. Course-by-course equivalency guides and associate to baccalaureate pathways are part of these agreements.
As we've discussed aspects of traditional transfer credit policy, another area of consideration is how institutions acknowledge learning that students acquire outside the classroom. Credit for prior learning, or CPL, are methods used by colleges and universities to evaluate and formally recognize the learning that has occurred outside the traditional academic classroom. This is also referred to as prior learning assessment, or PLA. Some forms of credit for prior learning include standardized exams such as CLEP or DSST, institutional exams, experience and portfolio assessments, military training and experience credits off a joint services transcript, credits reviewed by credit recommendation services such as the American Council on Education or the National College Credit Recommendation Service, or licenses and credentials. So how does credit for prior learning help students? In a study completed by Kale and Witchy, 1 in 11 adult students earned PLA credits. On average, those students earned 14.8 PLA credits. And when military PLA credits were removed, students earned on average of 11.7 PLA credits, almost a full semester of credits. Adult students with PLA credits complete credentials at a higher rate. 49% of adult students with PLA completed a bachelor's degree, an associate's degree, or certificate program compared to 27% of adult students without PLA credits. Acknowledging students' credit for prior learning saves them time and money towards their degree completion. Adult students with PLA credits were more persistent and earned more credits at their institutions. These students took on average 17.6 more traditional course credits than adult students without PLA credit. Students utilizing credit for prior learning was not equal across demographics. Hispanic and adult white adult students, males, and students of a higher socioeconomic level are more likely to have PLA credits, while Black adult students, females, and Pell Grant recipients were the least likely. PLA can be used as a tool for closing that equity gap if PLA is made more accessible. Lower income adult students with PLA were more likely to complete credentials. For example, 55% of adult Pell Grant recipients with PLA credit completed credentials compared to 27% without. To have a more positive impact on student educational journeys, we need to improve the ways we're acknowledging their prior learning. Are there ways for your institution to acknowledge prior learning? Maybe it's different methods, applicability to a different range of coursework. Are the credits for prior learning opportunities communicated to students? Or how are they communicated to students, and when in their life cycle? Is the student process too many steps? Too long? Do students get discouraged? Are credit recommendations from the American Council on Education, or ACE, or the National College Credit Recommendation Service, NCCRS, all evaluated and accepted in a consistent manner. Adult learners come to UAGC with a wealth of professional knowledge and expertise. Students deserve credit for this. At UAGC, credit for prior learning is awarded in 3 different ways. The first is national testing programs. Some of the exams we accept include Advanced Placement, Cambridge International, CLEP, and DSST. Equivalencies for many of these exams are included in our database, and the official transcripts are evaluated for transfer credit along with official post-secondary institution transcripts. Our second way is through national credit recommendations. These include the ACE and NCCRS. These services use multiple faculty subject matter experts from across the United States to evaluate and provide these published credit recommendations. Military Joint Services transcripts are included as they have ACE credit recommendations. Courses, trainings, exam, and work experiences with these recommendations are reviewed through the same lens as our traditional transfer credit, including using our transfer credit rubrics as an evaluation tool. The third way that UAGC provides credit for prior learning is through our prior learning assessment process. PLA is an opportunity for students who earn college credit for college level learning that occurs outside the traditional classroom setting, and which does not carry credit through the National Testing Program or the National Credit Recommendation Services. Our program complies with the Council on Adult Education and Experiential Learning, or CAEL, standards for assessing the learning. Credit may be awarded for areas that fall within our regular curricular offerings. Students may earn credits in 2 different ways. The first is sponsored professional training. UAGC faculty subject matter experts evaluate standardized trainings, certificate programs, pre-licensing coursework, etc. for evidence of college level learning. Common trainings and certifications with potential PLA credit include, but are not limited to, the Child Development Associate, Computer and Information Technology certifications, FINRA series exams, and the Project Management Professional. This process does require certain documentation and a short credit rationale paper. The second way that they can earn credit is through our experiential essay process. In this process, students write a reflective paper that demonstrates their understanding of a 3-credit UAGC course through their experiential learning. Students align their 1 year or more of work and personal experience with the learning outcomes of their selected UAGC course. UAGC faculty subject matter experts evaluate the essay submission for evidence of that college level learning as applicable to their degree program. This process does also require certain documentation. UAGC tries to connect with students in a variety of ways throughout their student life cycle to explore credit for prior learning options they might have. During a student's application process, they are able to self-identify possible prior learning areas, including their military courses and experience, national testing programs, certifications, and work-life experience. With this information, our Articulation and Prior Learning Assessment Department does targeted outreach early and throughout the student life cycle to engage them in these possibilities. We work with student advising and faculty to have talking points and resources available for credit for prior learning options. This includes ways to talk about credit for prior learning when a student mentions they have a certificate or work experience, how to possible scheduling changes to avoid duplication while they pursue these options, and classroom engagement. We provide resources on the UAGC website as well as in the student portal for students to access anytime to learn more about these options.
As we're reminded that students are unique, how can we move forward to improve the mobility and acceptance of transfer credits and acknowledge student education and life experiences? There are some steps that we should consider taking. Improving transfer credit data tracking at the institutional level, as well as the national level, would provide a larger and more accurate picture of the challenges, what is working, and the true impact of transfer credits. working to provide students access to clear and understandable transfer information throughout the process, reviewing transcript hold and transfer credit policies on a regular and ongoing basis, as well as exploring robust options to acknowledge the experiences of students from outside the classroom or their credit for prior learning towards their degrees. We hope that today gets you thinking about how you can help unlock opportunities for students and support their educational journeys. Thank you, and be sure to vote today if you haven't already.
Great reminder about voting. Please do put any questions in the chat, or you're welcome to pop on. We have a few minutes to answer any questions, any hot topics. These are the people you want to talk to. It takes a village to get our students to that graduation finish line, and this is a key part of the village.
Yeah, Alexa, I'll take that. I've had students in the past where they've actually, after we've completed the official evaluation, they're like, "Oh, okay, I didn't even think those credits would come in because it was a you know cosmetology school, and my last school didn't accept those." And they were able to almost fill up their elective pool with a couple of months that they spent at, or a couple of semesters that they spent at cosmetology school. So that was kind of cool.
One of my favorite credit for prior learning stories is we had a student who had multiple company trainings, and he had seen that his boss had got credit for prior learning for some of his stuff. And so his boss helped get documentation to us. And now, while not quite the same, as we were looking through it, we were able to identify individual trainings that met our minimum of 15 hours to be reviewed for elective credit. And with that, he was able to fulfill 19 elective credits through all his work trainings. And I mean, 19 credits moved him for electives, moved him up six courses for graduation closer. And he got to his capstone course much quicker to be able to finish his degree months ahead of time, or what than he was planning. But those credits that he received, while they didn't meet a full UAGC course, they did fulfill and meet individual content of our learning outcomes, like leadership and management and communications. And he really was able to express what he knew about those topics through his credit rationale paper and the training content to get those credits. Holly is a great example of one of our faculty champions. She talks up prior learning assessment whenever she can to her students. She teaches in the early childhood education program, and a common training for them is their child development associate, which aligns to multiple courses that students take here and can turn around and get that. So we work closely with her to align those credentials to courses within the student's program for that credit.
Yeah, that was some of my first experience with prior learning, was students that completed their CDA, and I'm like, okay, I'm not really sure what that is. And then following up with prior learning, I'm like, wow, they can actually get credit for multiple courses with that CDA.
Through the lens of belonging, do you recognize transfer credit, or do you think recognizing transfer credits, traditional or CPL, impacts our students? I would say yes. I know from working on the day-to-day basis on the credit for prior learning side that typically once a student gets one certification, credit for one certification, a lot of times they ask, what about this? I've done this. I have this experience. I've been a teacher for this many years. I've worked as a financial professional for this many years. How does this align to my courses? And so a lot of times once we award credit for one thing through credit for prior learning, it gets their wheels turning about other things of acknowledging that, and just that connection with the students. I find they're more receptive and more engaging in the process and at UAGC in general.
One of the things I've seen with our transfer partnerships, students that, once they're aware of it, that they have a lot of avenues to get those additional credits that they need, through Sophia or Straighterline or study.com. And when they complete those courses there and bring them back to us and they see how much they've gained, I think it lets them know that we appreciate their efforts to learn, and that we're accepting of those credits, whereas some institutions might not be.
We have a few more minutes for any last minute questions. But I am sure if you think of things later, you are welcome to reach out to JoAnna and her team. They would be happy to provide more information. So feel free to pop on if you have a few more questions, but in the meantime, I do want to thank you so much thanks so much to you, the audience, as well as the UAGC Office of Registrar leaders for your participation in today's session. Please use the survey linked in the chat to nominate TLC presentation for conference awards and share your feedback on this presentation.
Alexa, if you could change one thing or implement one thing, policy, survey, whatever, what would you like to see in relation to this topic? Johnny or Kenton has anything? Oh, for our university or the industry as a whole? Yes.
I think the team here provided a lot of useful information that pertains to our university and, as Alexa mentioned, the industry as a whole. There are a lot of credits out there that are getting lost, a lot of money being wasted by students. Thus, a big portion of them are using financial aid funding. So I think even just our university taking that stand to kind of make it so more transfer credits can be applied to students and others doing the same. It just, like the team had already mentioned, it creates more avenues for them to be able to graduate sooner and get to their careers. So, and I've had the pleasure too of working in the registrar office and also on the faculty side. So I do get to see the concerns that do come from students, and they are very appreciative of what we are doing here.
Mine would probably be industry-wide, would be my first. And part of that is that recognition of the non-traditional or the credit for prior learning across the industry as standard. talking with individuals from other registrars' offices, from other institutions, they see varied challenges at their institutions. It might be how they recognize or don't recognize the credit recommendations the same way. Even for military, they vary within that institution where it's very selective. Even though credit recommendation services evaluate all of them the same way. So like I'm going to pick on ACE. They look at military credits and evaluate them the same way they do national testing programs, as they do training and courses from other providers. So they all get evaluated by multiple faculty subject matter experts to provide those credit recommendations. But it's hard to see students who have those credits, but they're being cherry picked just because of where they're from versus they've all been evaluated in the same way. So that's probably one of my biggest things, is for the industry to consider those credit recommendations in the same way across the entire industry, so that the valuable experiences that our students do bring from their certifications or from their military experience or from their unconventional or non-traditional trainings are seen with value.
I completely agree, JoAnna. Do any of the presenters have anything else to say? Any other comments, questions? I did add the evaluation in the chat. We're always open to feedback. Thank you again so much for joining us. Johnny, did you have a comment?
Oh, just at the very last here, as we're fixing to wrap up, I was just thinking about how our school and its open enrollment policy that it has had and does have now allows a really equitable opportunity for our students. And the transfer credit piece that we bring to it really opens up so many doors. And as you've heard many people already say, it allows it saves a lot of time, it saves a lot of money. And these are very important issues, particularly today, as we talk about them. So I was just thankful for us to have this discussion today and to really bring them up and what we here at UAGC does. And hopefully it sparks a conversation as to what other schools and institutions might want to do and think about in the future as well.
Thanks, everyone. That was an amazing talk. I'm so inspired, and JoAnna, you and your team need to be in charge in this world when it comes to transfer credits. I vote for you guys.
Still have to vote in the election too.
I did.
Okay, good.
Thanks for your vote of confidence, Holly.
Thank you. And thanks, Ben, for your technical help. Thanks for a great presentation, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your conference. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out.